I'm Joshua Adams, and this is the Industry Insights Podcast, where I am joined in the Rock Paper Simple studio by community leaders as we dive into industry topics and perspectives. Thanks for joining us today. I have Don Mays, CEO of Call One and Hello Direct, business communication technology focused. We're on boards together in the community, and so we've known each other for a bit. Today, we're going to be talking about business communication technology, what that means for a business, specifically in a world that has gone increasingly hybrid. So thanks for joining us today.
Happy to be here.
So Don, how does business communication technology impact a business?
When we think about a business, every part of a transaction includes some form of communication, either written, verbal, or through video or in person. And that communication is critical to how your customer feels about you, how quickly you can respond to your customer, and how that transaction runs smoothly or not so smoothly. We've all had played the telephone game when we were kids, and how a message can get messed up if you don't have clear communication. So how do we help with that? Well, what we do is we focus on helping businesses develop a portfolio of equipment, lots of things, to help them better communicate with their customers, with their teammates, with their suppliers, with all parts of their organization. So that's how communication can really make a difference. If you have bad communication, you're going to have bad results. It's that simple. I mean, the marketing guys should know that communication is key. But for the rest of us, does it really matter how good my video quality is? Does it really matter whether or not I've got a good headset or a bad headset? Well, yeah. Because how many times do you feel like if you don't understand what someone's saying to you, does that make you trust them more, trust them less? Do you want to work with them more, work with them less? So the more opportunities you have to have crystal clear communication, the better your business is going to be.
Right. No, I totally agree with that. And I think we do a lot of conference calls, a lot of conversations these days. We do a lot, quite a bit, where we are interacting with a client, whether that be pre-sale or post-sale. If you're in a sales conversation, you want to be able to project confidence, right? And if you have a clunky connection or your camera isn't picking up your feed, or if it's cutting out or they can't hear you, you're not having a confident sales pitch.
Yep.
Or you're not having a confident planning session, or you're not having, and if that confidence isn't there, you start to have a shaky communication piece. So I've experienced that absolutely in the space. So I think the technology on that side is key in all of those things. So is there an area that you find that is most important?
We're finding a big trend towards video. Sound is first. You have to have good sound. But following shortly behind that is video. The more and more people want to have that face-to-face over video conversations. They want to not just be talking to a screen full of profile pictures. They want to have good, clear visual communications. It's why people used to come together for, hey, let's bring everybody in for this meeting in-house, was to get some of that body language, some of that conversation, some of those cues that happen. So we're seeing more and more customers finding a real need to upgrade how they're using video in their communications on a day-to-day basis, internally and externally.
No, that makes sense. I was just on a call with a client. I was participating in one of their team meetings to weigh in on some things, and I just could not hear them. And the way they had their room set up, they had the camera great, where I could see everybody. But anytime anybody on the other side of the table leaned back, or they were, leaning in maybe in too far where they were not, I couldn't hear a thing they were saying. And when the topics were maybe not directed at me, because when it was directed at me, everybody's looking up at I could hear them. I couldn't follow along. And so it really felt like at the end of the meeting, I actually said, hey guys, there's a lot of stuff you guys were talking about that I felt like I could have contributed to, but next call, can we make sure we've got a really good mic on? Because I just couldn't follow the conversation. So I wasn't able to contribute.
That is a concept called meeting equity is the term that they're using in the industry now to really talk about that feeling and presence of people in the room and people not in the room. and making sure that everybody has the same level of meeting equity. There's a lot of technology software side, and on the actual cameras now, some of the upgraded new cameras have the ability to really track those individuals that are speaking and let you hear each person that's speaking when they're speaking. And often some of it allows you to have that person, even in a big conference room, we all remember in Zoom or in Teams, when the person who's talking is the biggest one on the screen. Well, when you get people into a conference room, you're losing some of that. But the people who are coming in from a hybrid perspective, maybe they're missing part of the conversation like you're talking about. Some of the newer technology that's coming out right now allows for the people who are not in the meeting room to have the same experience. Microsoft Teams and Zoom have both created some great portfolios of technology that's easily added on to what you're currently using. Get the right camera, and you are going to have a really more interactive, where nobody is not having meeting equity in that space.
Right. Right. And I think you can, we kind of going back to the original purpose of the question and conversation we're having is, how does this impact the business bottom line? Right. And I think we can absolutely clearly see, and correct me if I miss something, clearly see connections to sales. We can see connection to customer retention, customer service, team collaboration and productivity. Did I miss anything?
Post-sales work. And also marketing in collaboration, because how your message is coming across, there are things you can do in your video presentations that help your marketing team better support your sales team in different platforms that you can include in those conversations, and understanding how to use that software to the best of your ability. How fast can you share that screen with that PDF, and how comfortable are you in that space? That helps to make that whole process even better.
Yeah, it makes for better communication and a more streamlined system for team members to collaborate and to get things done.
Absolutely.
So in an increasingly hybrid world, how do companies explore what technology they should be looking at when they're looking at creating that meeting equity, but also making sure that they have the correct technology for a hybrid workforce?
First and foremost, I would suggest finding a partner to walk through that space with you. That's our role. We come into the conversation, we like to use the word device agnostic. So we come into the conversation with a question of, what do you want to accomplish? How many people? What's the space look like that you're using? Do you have an open office plan? Do you have conference rooms? Do you have huddle rooms? Do you have more people remote? Do you have more people in the office? And then let's talk about your budget, because just like anything else, there's everything from, the nice Honda Civic that's going to get you there and get done what you want, to the Mercedes and everything in between. So let's talk about what you need and what's reasonable for your budget. Right. And how often you plan on refreshing that technology. So those are some of the conversations that a really good partner will help you walk through those conversations.
And that's one of the things that's so unique about what you guys do, right? It's not just, hey, let me go on the website and buy the thing, right? It's really not the niche you have, right?
No.
They can do that if they wanted to, but there's that aspect of saying, hey, no, let us help you figure this out, because how many times have we gone online and we're scrolling and we're like, which one of these do I buy? Like, oh my gosh, they all look the same. Why is this one $10 and why is this one $3,000? I don't even understand. Right. And there's a confusion around it. There's a frustration, frankly, around it that you guys help bridge the gap of. Yeah. So just to kind of give you guys a little shout out in this conversation in terms of like what sets you apart in the market. So looking for a partner like you guys. But what are some of the considerations besides kind of the questions you just ran through, that they should be thinking about?
Well, we talked about meeting equity before. That's a big part of how you're going to make sure your team is really being able to collaborate and coordinate and thrive in the roles that you're asking them to thrive in. So what you need to do is think about, okay, how are my people working and how can I help them do it better? And that can be, do they need workstations in the office, and do they need a workstation at home? Are they a digital nomad and they work in 16 different places over the course of a month? Well, that's a different set of technology and conversations happening. And what platform are we working on? Are we working on Teams? Are we working on Zoom? Are we a Cisco WebEx? Are we a Google Meet? Because that also dictates which technology is going to work better in which platform. Some of them work great in all of them. Some of them work substantially better in others. And so that's why finding a technology partner to help you walk through. the space and the understanding, because you don't have to always buy the $10,000 Mercedes version of this particular unit. There may be a really nice middle road one that's going to do everything you need to do, have a 2-year warranty with it, and going to get you where you need to go. So you really have to think about, okay, what do I want to accomplish and how many people? And then from there, you can work back. There's headsets, there's webcams, there's video conferencing equipment in your huddle spaces. There's what platform are you on? That's a conversation that we can help you with too. If you've been just kind of hodgepodging it together, do you need to become a Zoom house? Do you need to become a Microsoft Teams house? What works best in your space? And that's part of what we do, is help you walk through those decisions.
Makes sense. I think it's understanding that, first of all, there's no one size fits all. There's no look up an article and find the top best whatever, right? Which I think is what a lot of people do. I'm going to Google what's the best webcam ever, and most of those are sponsored anyway. So, good luck. But there's no one size fits all, because you're looking at it from a standpoint of what does my team need, right? Ultimately, there's a human or humans on the other side of this that are going to be different than maybe another company, another organization. I think that's kind of what you're getting at.
Yep.
Hey, there's a different need based upon that team.
And when you're dealing with a lot of the products we cover and we carry versus some of the products you can just go on Amazon and buy, I'll just go and call it out. We are putting forth products that often have management software that comes with them. So let's say, for an example, Logitech, who is a brand name most of us know because most of us have owned a Logitech keyboard or mouse somewhere along the way. They also sell headsets, video conferencing equipment, things like that. They have a software that you can add in your purchasing that allows you to manage all of those devices from one dashboard. So you, as a business owner or an IT professional, can be able to know to do all the upgrades that need to happen and push those out through the system. So all of your employees are getting the freshest software update on their particular devices. You can look at usage and different things like that. Poly has a program like that. Jobber has a program like that. And that's just to name a few. Those make, from a business perspective, the management of those assets much better. Lowering the number of issues that IT or whoever's in charge of supporting your team with this equipment helps to lower some of those issues. And our job is to help whoever's in charge of that have a better day. Because the less calls they get, it's a better day. It's just a better day. And so for us, that's one of the great things about working with some of the things that we can sell you versus just randomly buying stuff on Amazon. The other great thing is that when you work with a partner like us, we're going to help you make sure that all the stuff you buy actually connects to itself and actually will all work together. Because unfortunately, we've come into a number of situations where, and a lot of this happened during the pandemic, that people just bought whatever they could find. And I totally understand. Supply chain was crazy. There was all sorts of randomness happening in the world. And so people just bought what they could find. And unfortunately, not all things are compatible with other things. And that has created a number of situations where there's a lot of feedback. There's things not working with things. There's things not connecting to things. And standardizing your team into a couple of different products is going to make just the whole team work better and eliminate some of those issues that happened. So we've been doing a lot of standardization work lately also to bring people all onto a couple of products within their organization, and it makes everybody's life easier.
So as companies have had more employees working remotely, they have office spaces that suddenly are empty or half empty or a third empty, whatever that looks like for them, right? And so that space is being used differently. For some, it's just empty. It's just shut down and not being used, and it's square footage they're paying for that they're not using. And so as they look at that, there's this aspect of how do I retool my space? How do I retool my space for this business connectivity, if you will?
Well, we've had a number of customers, and we've dealt with it ourselves because we had a bunch
I've been in your space. It's been really interesting. Yep.
So we had a bunch of our team who went home, and we found that they worked fabulously remotely, and so they stayed home. And then we've had other team members, obviously, we brought back. So we've experienced this, and so we've looked at some of the other of our customers that are experiencing this. And what we're finding is that taking some of that space and reworking it so that you can do what's known as hot desking or hoteling, meaning if you have a team that's hybrid, that's maybe coming in 2 or 3 days a week, retooling those desks in a way that you have a unified docking station, keyboard, mice, and monitors, so that that individual has to do is bring their headset if they want it and their laptop and hook up, easy peasy. And that allows you to have adjusting your space and then take those empty spaces and create collaboration spaces. That's what we did in our office. Was we took some of our empty spaces and we turned them into collaboration spaces where you can bring 2 or 3 or 4 people who are in the office into a space together and then bring in the rest of the participants through some great products from Logitech, Poly, and Jabra, and then have them have a really great interactive meeting. One of the other products that we've used is the Scribe, which I think I showed you from Logitech. We have a number of customers who've put that into meeting spaces. And what that does is it allows your whiteboard to become a digital whiteboard in your meeting platform, which is great. So your remote participants are getting the same experience as your in-room experience. So taking those spaces and outfitting them with video is really allowing you to use those spaces for all the members of your team simultaneously versus just the people who are in the office. We've also had a number of customers who have taken those spaces and created co-working spaces where they have a more relaxed space, maybe with some, I call it, the Silicon Valley look with some couches and maybe a snack bar or things like that, so that people have a reason to come in the office besides coming and sitting at a desk and getting on Zoom call. Because can't I just do that at home?
Right.
So make those spaces more collaborative and give the team the tools to still be able to work with the people who are remote. Our director of marketing, Danny Hayasaka, has a great phrase that every meeting needs to have the ability to have video attached to it. And I think it's a really great way to look at how we're designing our spaces as we go forward and redesigning our spaces so that every space has the ability to add someone in a hybrid way into that meeting space. If we do that, then we're going to have meeting equity. We're going to have the ability to have really collaborative teams. And we're not going to have the Tuesday group of the people who all come in on Tuesdays having collaboration and not including other parts of the team.
Right.
And that's what I'm seeing a lot of our customers doing right now. And it's not that hard to do if you think through how you want to use your technology.
Being purposeful with it, right?
Yeah.
Which I think is a big part of this too. As they look at how do we use this space differently, it's being purposeful with it. It's really easy to say, oh, let's just rearrange some things. Let's use the space however we want to use it. But thinking through, like, what are the strategic things we can do here that tie into having a better communication experience? What does a better customer experience look like? How can we increase our collaboration? And thinking, hey, I'm invested in this space. I put the time and money to set up an office and have extra space. How am I using it to my advantage?
Yeah. Another great opportunity I saw in another customer space was they created zones in their office. Because some people who are working from home need to come into the office because they need quiet. They call it library space, where they aren't being disturbed. They are heads down, digging into the spreadsheet, and they need library space. And that's that quiet working space. And so then there are other people who are coming to the office that need collaboration space. And they're creating spaces with bigger tables, with co-working spaces, with hot desking opportunities. And then you need what we were talking about before with video space. Because some people, their working at home environment is actually noisier, more interrupting. There's the FedEx guy, there's the dog, there's the kids coming home at 3:30, and I've got this big project and I really need to bear down and pay attention and not have a lot of interruptions. Well, that's the day I need to go clock in on the library space. Another time I have a project that I really need to sit down with a couple other people on the team and I say, okay, let's all meet in the office on Wednesday. We'll book into the collaboration space and let's work together and walk through this, and we can bring Bob in through video because he's in Texas or wherever Bob might be. And then you have your other spaces for your hot desking. So all of this allows you to really rethink your space and be purposeful about it, but also give people a reason to come in the office besides just coming in the office to get on a Zoom call that I could be doing if I was at home in my slippers versus having to get all the way dressed to come in. That's kind of the big joke is if you're going to make me come in, and it's not that much of a joke actually, but that's where people are really looking at. If you're going to make me come into the office, and you want me to come into the office, let's make it really meaningful and purposeful when I come. And let's make it worth the time, energy, and effort to have the space and ask the employees to come in.
So what are the advantages of working with a business technology partner like you guys?
One of the best advantages is taking the headache out of deciding and collaborating with your team about what does my team need. So let's say you have a new hire, and we have something we call Agent in a Box, where you've already standardized your equipment for what your new hires are going to get. And you can do it by team level or job role or different, this customer service rep needs this marketing person needs that. So you can create that standardization with us. You can call up your or email your salesperson and say, hey, I've got a new person. This is their date of start, and we'll package it, kit it all together, and send it out. That enables you to know that they've got the right equipment, that it's all going to work, and that it's going to be taken care of for you. And you've already made all those decisions. It's going to make that whole process faster. The other great thing is, unfortunately, sometimes people leave and go on to new and brighter beaches. And so what happens at the end of that? Well, all that technology needs to come back. We offer services through our reclamation that they can pack it all up, send it back to us. We'll test it, clean it, sanitize it. And even if you've set it up with us, put it back on the shelf for you. So let's say you have an employee who's only there, unfortunately, for 3 months, and that all that technology is still great. It's still in great positions. You're going to refill that position, but you want all that stuff cleaned and ready to go again versus, sometimes,
It can be kind of gross. And I've been in your facility and seen that process, which is really cool to see.
Yeah. So we'll take that equipment back in, we'll clean it, we'll test it, we'll put it through our UV sanitize, bag it up. And if we've set the system up with you, we will actually shelve it for you in inventory. And then you call us back up and say, hey, can you send XYZ set out to Sally in Topeka, Kansas, and off it goes. So we can set that up. We can also create a set of inventory that's specific to you, that you've selected these items, and we'll create those kits for you. And you can pre-purchase them if that's, you've got a big group coming in. You're going to be hiring 50 people next week. We can get that all ready. And then you send us the addresses and off they all go. We have a couple of partners we work with also to help make some of that happen from a technology perspective. And we can actually cover everything from their Samsung tablet to their keyboard, to their headset, to an IP phone. We do some work in laptops if we know what you're doing, but all the rest of those peripherals, that's our space, and we can get you totally taken care of.
So bringing in a partner like you guys really helps with standardization. It helps with removing the guesswork out of it. Where did we order that? What did we order them? What do we normally get? All those questions we typically ask. I imagine you end up with better pricing in the long run because you're actually planning ahead, you're buying it together. I love that you'll take the equipment back and shelf it for them. They're not just wasting that equipment. They know exactly what they're getting and why they're getting it and when they're getting it. So there's a lot of benefits from that. We've touched on before the fact that you guys are more than just a supplier of product, right? It's that partner, it's that advisor on those kinds of things. I think it's a big deal.
Yeah, we're very happy with taking care of our clients. I mean, fundamentally, we believe that people do business with people. You can buy a lot of what we sell from a lot of different people, but you're always going to get a person on the other end of the line. You're always going to have someone who is your advisor as you're walking through this process. And like I said before, we're device agnostic. So for us, it's really about finding the best solution for you, not because I got a good deal on this group of headsets over here and let me sell them to you. No, it's really about what does your team need and how can we help you thrive in what you're trying to do in your organization and make communication be as seamless as possible. We want you to not think about your equipment. We want you to be so happy with it and it's working that you're like not even worried about it. You're not like, oh, is all my stuff going to work? No, you're focused on making that next sale, taking care of that next customer, coming up with that next $1 million idea, and really, really helping your team work efficiently and happily with their communication equipment.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of Industry Insights. If you enjoyed it, be sure to subscribe, comment, or even drop us a line over at rockpapersimple.com.